Future Flash Thursday. We're so glad you've joined us today. My name is Melissa Kennelly. I am the admissions counselor for Kent State Trumbull, and I am actually a Kent State Trumbull graduate myself. I graduated last spring and loved my experience as a Kent Trumbull student. So if you're here today, I'm guessing it's because you're interested in attending Kent State Trumbull, or perhaps you've already been admitted. Maybe you've already scheduled classes for summer or fall. Wherever you're at on that spectrum, we're so glad you're here today. We hope you brought some questions. Our goal is to give you some really practical information on how you can succeed and be your best at Kent State Trumbull. It's a great place to succeed. We have a lot of real hands-on resources, and today we have some students, a faculty member, as well as some of our directors that are going to speak about our resources. So let's get started. Our first speaker is Dr. James Ritter. He's actually our Director of Enrollment Management and Student Services, and he's going to give you a little welcome.
Welcome to Kent State Trumbull. I'm a long timer at Kent State Trumbull. I was here from 1991 to 2000. Then I left and I went to work at a very large university. And to be honest, came back in 2010 to Kent State Trumbull because I had a little bit of a conflict. I was working with students. Many were, average students. And I was recommending them to take these very large classes, a sociology class with 500 students. And I'm thinking to myself, I was in those classes and I struggled and I was a little bit above average. And so I know a lot of these students are going to get lost through the cracks. So I had kind of a conflict. And so I thought, I'm going to come back to Kent State Trumbull where I know students can graduate if they want to. That's what I tell everyone. If you want to graduate from Kent State Trumbull, you will. Classes are small. You'll get to know your instructor. You'll get to know your advisor. I was advising students, taking 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most to advise students. Here you can come in and see an advisor every day, half-hour appointments. It's just, if you want to graduate from Kent State Trumbull, you will, because all the resources are there. And I tell everyone, but it's more than a slogan. We are like a very small private college, but obviously part of one of the largest university systems in the United States. So there's a ton of resources. And at the same time, we have low regional campus tuition. So we really have the best of both worlds.
Thank you, Dr. Ritter. And again, this is an interactive event. So we are hoping that you brought your questions. Go ahead and start putting those in the comments. We are happy to answer questions about anything today. So post those in the comments. I just posted the outline for our event. So if you would like, you can click on that and follow along. That'll be a nice way for you to see what's coming up next and what the program entails. We're hoping to be on for about an hour today. We can go over a little bit if a lot of you have questions. That's our goal, is to give you what you need. So let us know what we can do for you. If you would like, right now, you can go ahead and post in the comments maybe your status, whether you're a high schooler or a transfer student, or maybe you're accepted, or maybe you're just interested. We would love to see who we're talking to today. So maybe just put in a little comment, one word, tell us a little bit about yourself. Please keep in mind this video is going to be available for viewing in the future as a public video on our Facebook page. So if there's anything that you need to share that's personal, maybe questions you have about different resources, if you feel that you would rather ask that question privately, email addresses are available on the outline that I posted. So you'll be able to reach out one-on-one with different people. All right, so we are going to move on to our next speaker. We have Professor Corey Pate, and she is a teacher for our classes called Core Reading Strategies and Critical Reading. And she has been a part of our Trumbull campus for 10 years. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Education and a Master of Arts in Reading Specialization. So Professor Pate and her husband, a high school science teacher, have 2 kids, and she's going to share with us some time management and study strategies. So if you're a note taker, maybe pull out your pen and paper, and let's give Professor Pate our attention.
Hello, welcome to Kent Trumbull. A couple of things I want to mention to help you make sure that you're successful your first year. The first of which, and most important, is to go to class. And I'm telling you this because You will get to the point mid-semester and you'll think, I don't really need to go to class. You really need to go to class. There's notes, there's discussions, there's things that are talked about in class that if you're not there, you're going to miss. So you really want to make sure you be there. While you're there, participate, talk, ask questions, talk to the people in class with you as well. These are moments that you're going to need when you have to study or when you want to reflect back and ask a question. Having a partner in each class is going to be a good, valuable tool that you'll need. My second tip is to make sure that you're organized with your school stuff as well as your life stuff. So this means having a place for all your supplies. This means having a good study area. This means a quiet study space. You're definitely going to want a quiet study space. The other thing is to make sure that you have a planner or some type of calendar to stay organized. Write down all of your assignments. Make sure that you're keeping track of due dates, because it's easy to say, oh, I'll remember them. You're not going to remember them. So make sure that you write them down. Another tip is time management for freshmen. You're used to, whether you're a new freshman or what we call a non-traditional and you haven't been in school in a while, you're used to going to school every day and getting your assignments and getting reminded. You're not going to get that anymore. So it's all on you. So you want to make sure that you're keeping track of your assignments and when things are due. You want to make sure that you have a plan, what your weekly schedule is, when you have to be at places, to kind of help keep track of everything that you need to get done. My next tip is to pick your classes wisely. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. So if you're not a morning person, do not schedule an 8:30 a.m. class. You're not going to go. So make sure that you're scheduling classes that work for you. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep, make sure that you're eating healthy, make sure that you're going to office hours. These are hours that your professor has set aside to talk to you, to answer questions, to go over material, to sit down and go over the material a little bit more if you don't want to ask a question in class. We understand that. So we have these hours so that you're available if you need help. My next tip is to your study strategy, your study area. Make sure that you're minimizing distractions. Make sure it's quiet, it's calm, it has everything that you need. Make sure your cell phone is not where you're studying. It's not going to help you. Make sure that if you need music, because some people need music to study, that it's quiet and it's the kind of music that you need to study. It's not going to get in the way. If you don't have a space, find one. Library, right now, you can't go to the building and do it, but hopefully, eventually, you will be able to find a space that works for you. Another tip is to have a study system, a note-taking system, how you take notes, how you read. Everybody learns different. So the key to this is to find a system that works for you. I can't tell you what works for you. It's a matter of trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. If you want more specifics on this, I will absolutely sit down with you and help you with this, but it's more personal to you to know what works for you, but try something. You should absolutely be highlighting and note-taking as you're reading, but how you're going to actually learn the material might vary. Flashcards are an excellent resource as well. Quizlet, same thing, but they're helpful. Try one of those. Make sure that you're not waiting until right before the test to review. You want to periodically review throughout the semester. So every couple of weeks, check back to the old material, look at it, see if there's anything new, update it, periodically check that material. Another tip is to give yourself a break. Make sure that you have planned time to do things that you want to do. So whether it's exercise, which is really good for your brain, whether it's a day out with friends, whether it's time to study, whether it's time to read a book, whether it's gardening that you want to do, something that is just for you to reinvigorate yourself. Okay. My last tip is to read. There is no way around it. You have to read your college books. Read ahead of time before the class tells you what you're doing so that you're prepared. This way you can ask any questions that you might have, go over any material that you might need to go over, but you definitely have to read. As you're reading, you should be highlighting, taking notes, marking in the textbook, annotating, something to make sure that you're keeping track of what you read, as well as any questions, concerns, problems that might have come up. This is going to help you in class. If your professors, they like to call on you. They want to make sure that you're asking and knowing the information. So this is definitely going to help you in class as well. So make sure that you're reading the assignments ahead of time. That's just a couple of my tips. If you need more, you can always come and see me. Otherwise, good luck and welcome to Kent State.
Thank you so much, Professor Pate. That's really, really good advice. And I'm thinking about some of my experiences as a student and looking back, yes, those are really good strategies. Reading was one of the most important things for me because I'm a visual learner. And so I needed to read before class so that I already had, I had that information in my head before our professor went over the content. So you find what works for you and please reach out if you need help. You are not supposed to have to go through all this on your own. So,
well, and your professors want to help, so ask them.
It's very true. And that's something that's very characteristic of Kent State Trumbull with this small campus. The class sizes are average 15 to 20 students. So it's very easy to get to know your professors before class, after class, or go to their open office hours. It's very easy to get to know them. So. And as you can see from Professor Pate, our professors are very, very nice too. So, all right, we're gonna move along. If you did not already, feel free to go click on the outline that we posted in the comments. This kind of has the structure. We're gonna start walking through some of the hands-on resources that we have. So our first resource that is listed there is campus counseling. Unfortunately, our campus counselor, who is absolutely remarkable, she was not able to join us today. So I'm just going to let you know, you can click on the link in that outline to access her email address and find out about the different services she offers. She actually does free yoga sessions at different times throughout the week. She does private one-on-one counseling. Currently, it's teletherapy, so over the phone right now, but typically it's in-person counseling appointments, and she'll meet with anybody about anything that they need to talk about. And this is a free resource available to you as a student enrolled at Kent State Trumbull. So please reach out if you need any kind of help. Our next great resource, who also cannot be with us today, so I'll be touching a little bit on this, is our excellent security department. So one of my favorite parts about our campus is our awesome security team. They drive around the parking lot at regular intervals and make sure that everything is safe. They walk the hallways, they have security cameras, they're constantly making sure that our students are as safe as possible. Also with recent national events, we have been hosting active shooter prevention trainings for our students. So this is a mandatory course for all of our freshmen, and it's basically very practical tips on how to respond in the event of an active shooter. So many, many great things that our security department does for us. If you see them on campus, just wave hi. They're usually in a white security uniform, and they're some of the nicest guys on campus. So that is it for security. I am going to introduce Tiffany Tyree next. She is our coordinator for our Road to Success program. This is one of our newest resources on campus, and it's very exciting. So Tiffany, would you like to tell us a little bit about this program?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. So our Road to Success program is designed to ensure collegiate success and community support for our students of color. Research shows that our students of color, when they feel integrated into the college campus and have a sense of belonging, they do better and have better success in the workforce. Therefore, the Road to Success program does just that. We provide a lot of resources and tools for our students who identify as African American, Latina American, Native American, and biracial and multiracial identities. Some of the details with the program include socials, semester check-ins, study tables, professional development opportunities. It's really a chance for our students of color to really have a sense of belonging with a peer group that they can relate to, but then also get those necessary tools and skill sets that will help them be successful beyond the classroom. And so it's very easy to sign up. All the information that you need is on our webpage. You can also reach out to me too if you have any additional questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And she actually has a couple roles on campus, so we'll be hearing more from Tiffany in a couple minutes. Next, we're going to talk about financial aid. This is a very important resource. I'm sure that if you're thinking about college, you have had at least one thought about money, financial aid, finances, how to pay for college. We have Nicolette Fenlock on. She is our Assistant Director for Enrollment Management and Student Services, and she handles our financial aid department. So Nicolette, would you like to tell us briefly, what does the financial aid department do to help students succeed at Kent State Trumbull?
Thank you, Melissa, and welcome, Golden Flashes. We are so happy to have you here in a virtual sense, and we're really looking forward to welcoming you this fall and helping you every step of the way. So if you're working with financial aid at Trumbull, you're going to be working one-on-one with me or Darlene Thorne or Mary Beth Eckenrode. The three of us handle financial aid for the campus. And our goal for you right now is that you understand the answers to a few simple questions. Number one, how do you plan to pay your tuition? And if you're using financial aid to do that, number two, do we have your FAFSA on file, and are there any outstanding requirements expected of you so that you can get it set up and get everything in place for that payment day later in the summer on August 7th. So what we do at this time of year is we prepare a personalized document for you. It's called your financial guide, and your academic advisor sends that to you just ahead of your DK Star advising and orientation session. You get a chance to look over that. What comes with that is the financial aid guide to Flashline, and it tells you step by step by step how to set up your financial aid and get everything in place. All along the way, leading up to starting, we are here for you to talk with you. We do a lot of one-on-one counseling in financial aid because it's a little different situation for everyone. So you'll take a look at those plans and see what are my next steps, and we will help you get there. It doesn't stop there though. For our current students, we do a great deal of programming. Our goals for you once you are a college student are that you understand your tuition and financial aid, that you continue to complete your FAFSA and apply for scholarships every year, starting in October. That's really the best time frame to do that. So you'll see a ton of reminders from us to do that. We also want you to start developing strong financial management skills and budgeting. So we have programs to help you learn how to budget as a college student. They're specifically designed for college students. So you can look for those either in a remote fashion or one-on-one in-person fashion. And then through our For Your Experience course, we do various sessions related to smart borrowing and financial success. So we really look forward to helping you one-on-one right now and once you're a full-time student.
Thank you, Nicolette. I have a question for you that might be on other people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
If a student is wanting to go to college, but they're concerned about student debt, is there something that you could tell them to reassure them about that?
Sure, absolutely. That's a question we get all the time. And the very first step in wondering, how much am I going to go from year to year? And if I take out student loans, what is my total student loan debt going to be? The first question you need to ask is how much is tuition? Because it varies greatly from institution to institution, from public to private. And so if you're looking at our tuition cost per year and you're choosing Kent State Trumbull, you're already making a smart choice to minimize your debt. So you've already done something to minimize your debt. But there are a couple other things you can do. You're going to hear me say 100 times, complete your FAFSA and apply for scholarships every year. We will help you do that. Once you are a current college student, work on that GPA. Take to heart those tips you are hearing today, because students with a GPA above 3.0 are more likely to earn scholarships. Scholarships are something that you don't have to pay back, and that helps minimize the amount of a student loan you might need to take out. So work on your GPA. And then, of course, your academic advisor is going to ask you, how many classes do you want to take this fall semester? You can take 2 classes, you could take 6 classes. And Kent State has a flat rate tuition once you get to 4 classes or 12 credit hours. So you could take 4, 5, or 6 classes and still pay the flat rate tuition for 12 hours. If it works for you and your advisor will help you decide this, then I would suggest you take 5 or 6 classes per term. That's going to speed up the time it takes to earn the degree and help you to minimize your debt. And then, of course, please come to all of our educational sessions throughout the year so that you can learn to track the total amounts that you've borrowed in student loans, if you're using student loans, and be smart about how you manage your money.
Thank you, Nicolette.
Mhm.
And if you're watching, if maybe you just joined or maybe you've been watching, please feel free to post any questions or comments in the comments section next to this video. If you are watching this at a later time, go ahead and click on the outline that we've posted. There are links all throughout the outline to be able to reach us either through email or to go to our website for more information. So take a look at that. While those questions come in, I have one more for you, Nicolette. What other costs can new students expect besides tuition?
Yes, that's an important question. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say, I know I talk a lot about scholarships. Every time you hear from me, that's something I'm saying. So a couple weeks ago, we did a whole Facebook Live session focused on scholarship search. So if you know, I caught your attention when I said that, you can scroll back and find that link as well. But in terms of other expenses, yes, we talk a lot about what is the tuition for the year, what is the tuition for the semester. But there are expenses above and beyond tuition that aren't going to be included in your bill. Those are things like, first and foremost, books and supplies. So I would set aside a couple $100 per semester for books and supplies, and that amount really varies depending on how many classes you're taking and which classes they are. So if you're taking 1 or 2 classes or 6 or 7 classes, it could vary from $100 up to $600 per semester. So set aside that money if you can ahead of time and plan to buy your books. I would say the week before school classes start is really the ideal time to purchase your textbooks so that you're ready to go that first week. Other things that you might want to plan for in your budget are housing and transportation. You know, a lot of our students are saving a great deal in housing by living with their family. That's an option for you. Or there's local apartments around campus, and that transportation piece as well. So those are the main expenses that you're considering outside of the tuition piece. And we give a lot of examples of how to keep track of all of that and handle it in our budgeting sessions.
Thank you, Nicolette. So we've talked about our professors who are always ready to help. We've talked about our campus counselor, our security department, our Road to Success program, and our financial aid department. So these are some of those great resources for you to maybe start plugging into if you're a future student for Kent State Trumbull. Next, we're going to talk about our resource in the Student Accessibility Services and the Learning Center. Miss Elaine Shively is the head over both of these. She's the coordinator for our academic services. First, we're going to talk about student accessibility services. So Ms. Shively, would you mind telling us what the Student Accessibility Services Department does to help students succeed?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Student Accessibility Services really make sure that every student has access to textbooks, to videos, to classroom lectures, and including access to physical buildings. If you feel that you need some accommodations and you have had those in high school or I have some students who have not. But the first thing all of you need to do is to make an appointment to meet with me, and we'll talk about what kinds of access you need and how we might be able to help you. And I also need documentation if you're coming from high school, or even if you've been out of high school a few years, you can ask the school to send your documentation to me. And I have some students who haven't just recently left high school, or they've been out for a long time, perhaps never needed accommodations before. We do have a form that we can give you, and it's also on our website, and you can take that to your doctor, or I always say the appropriate professional, and ask that person to complete and return the form to me. And that's how you start the process. And we do have a database called Access KSU, and each semester you want to use accommodations, you need to log into Access KSU and make that request. And it's very, very easy to use. And there are a lot of us here who would be willing certainly to help also. But that is the process for getting accommodations.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shively.
You're welcome.
So there's a question that I'm guessing some students may have. If they're coming in with an IEP or a 504 plan, what is their professor going to know about that?
Okay. What professors know is that you have a documented disability, and they also will know what accommodations you're eligible to receive. The type of disability you have is confidential, and that information is not given to professors. Professors do not have access to your documentation, but they do know you have a documented disability.
All right, thank you. And what is the first thing you would tell someone who maybe they know they have a need for accessibility services? What's the number one first thing that they should do?
Probably meet with me. That would be the number one thing they should do. And also to start thinking about, do I have documentation or not? And if not, we can help you to find someone to get that documentation.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to move over to the other half of what Ms. Shively does, and she actually has some of her student employees on with her today. So we would like to welcome Isabella and Alyssa. Isabella is a senior now. She finished junior year. She is double majoring in information technology and psychology. These are both programs that we offer the full 4-year degree fully at Kent State Trumbull. So Isabella is getting 2 degrees. She's working as a tutor, and she's here to share with us today about the Learning Center. Alyssa just finished her sophomore year in the English program. She's also one of the tutors, and this means she's headed into junior year, which is crazy. But time flies when you're having fun, right? So ladies, Alyssa, would you mind describing what the Learning Center is and what typically happens inside the Learning Center? Let's talk about before the remote learning.
Okay, hi everyone. So how we help everybody succeed is kind of just we provide an area for students to come for tutoring, both in person and online. And we also help with testing. So we can help with makeup tests and anything like that. And we also just provide somewhere to study. So it's a quiet place you can come and you can study, and then you can have us tutors on the side to maybe ask a quick question. And we're also available 5 days a week. So maybe if you say you want to meet with your professor, but they have their office hours at a time that doesn't work with your schedule, you could always come to us and ask questions. And that could help you kind of bridge your understanding of the lessons. And so that kind of goes into how the Learning Center functions and what's inside. So as I mentioned, we have the tutors that are you can just come in and meet. You don't have to set up any appointments or anything. You just come in and say, I need help with this, and we can provide that. So we have a few different course things. Sorry. So you can do, we have English and philosophy and ASL and different things in math and science. And you can actually look up the different tutors and what courses they tutor for on our page if you just look up the Learning Center for Kent State Trumbull.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. The Learning Center really is a great place. I used to just bring my homework there and work on homework. There's computers, there's quiet study rooms, there are extra textbooks for some of the courses, and of course there are tutors. It's a very, very friendly environment. So good place to make friends. I like to say it's where the smart people hang out. So Isabella, can you answer our next question? What would you say to someone who's hesitant to go to the Learning Center?
Thank you, Melissa. First off, I just basically want to say that when you want to come into the Learning Center, it's something that it's not a bad thing to do. Tutors are there to help you, and it's also a student perspective. That's the way I always put it. You know, your professors are there and they have office hours, and I always encourage people after I'm done with a tutoring session, you know, go to your professor's office hours. They're there to help, and that's why they have those office hours. But we are there also, and we can also, a lot of us have taken the same courses that the students coming in have taken, and that's why we're there, to be able to help and have a perspective on maybe how the professor is going to teach the course. So the hesitation that some students have is that a lot of students may feel embarrassed that they need tutoring, but it's really not something that's embarrassing. You know, I need help still, and I'm a tutor. You know, there's always people here to help outside of, you know, just the professors and stuff like that. And I just think the most important thing to mention is that it's just a student aspect, student perspective on the class, and maybe even we can word it differently than the professors did. And that's how a lot of students, once they come a first time, they feel so comfortable and they always come back. And so, I mean, just come in. We're a very friendly group, and there is people there to help all the time in almost every subject. So
thank you, Isabella. Everything she just said is so true. Very comfortable environment. And hey, if you already knew the answer to your questions, then why would you be a college student, right? So the reason we're all going to college is to learn those things that maybe we need to strengthen those skills, strengthen our knowledge set. So please, no shame in going to the Learning Center. Like I said, it's where the smart people hang out. So our next question is, I'm going to ask Alyssa, you explained a little bit about what the Learning Center does typically when students are on campus. Can you explain how that has changed? What are we doing with online tutoring, remote tutoring? I've heard about the OWL. I think that stands for Online Writing Lab. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yep, of course. Thank you. So I did mention this earlier that we have the online resources as well, and she mentioned the name of it. It's called the OWL, or the Online Writing Lab. And this can actually be found by quick Google search. Again, you can find it either on the Learning Center page, it'll be on the left side, or you can even just look up the Online Writing Lab. And what you'll do is a student can come to that page, they can fill out a form that says what their assignment details are, so we can have them send in, like, maybe they'll copy and paste their rubric or any things that might help us understand what their assignment is about. And then they can go through and mark what they need help with. So we have different things like finding sources or grammar, and there's an other box. So if you have something that's particular, you can do that. And then if you have anything with your professor that they've maybe said something specific to you, there's a section for that as well that you can tell us. And through this outlet, we can have you send in a Word document of your assignment, whatever written assignment it is for any class. That if it's written, we can take it. And so then we can look at it based on the assignment details and the concerns you have, and make any comments back to you on that to help. And so we usually, and this is kind of for the Learning Center in general, but it's also for OWLs, we can only look at them during hours. So we usually take about 24 to 48 hours in general to look at them. But if you send them over the weekend or over holidays or breaks, we can't look at those until the next business day. And then this actually helps us with the current situation that she mentioned, given that the stay-at-home order that we've had. we can actually still provide the OWL, same function and everything. And then the new thing that we decided to offer more recently was e-questions, where students can actually contact the different tutors just via email, and then just send us quick questions or concerns that they may have.
Thank you, Alyssa. That's really great information. Again, if you're watching and you have questions, or maybe it's even something you think we already covered but didn't make sense to you or you missed it, please go ahead and put those questions in the comments field next to this video. We'll be happy to answer those for you. I have one more question about the Learning Center, and this is for you, Isabella. How can someone set up a makeup test? I've heard that you have testing services in the Learning Center.
So makeup testing is one of the many things that we do provide in the Learning Center. So traditionally, what we do, before all this stuff happened, a student could call and set up an appointment with on our testing makeup days that we have. Each academic year, they normally change. Elaine will make the times and the days that she thinks we'll have makeup testing. And if those days don't work for you, we always figure something out. We make sure that we're available to them, and we even have we do one night a week where we have a 6 p.m. testing time normally. So anyone who works during the day, if they can't do something during the day, they can come. So they call and they just provide us with their Kent State email, and we'll look them up in our system and be able to put them in. The number one thing we tell them, though, is when they call is just to let their professor know that they've set up this appointment for the day and the time, so the professor can have that exam to us either by email or actually physically dropping it off in the center. So that's their responsibility on their end to be able to contact their professor about the makeup test that they're going to make up, and make sure that it's in our learning center, so that when they come in, it's ready for them. But it's a very simple phone call, and there's always someone there. Even if you just come in, we've had people come in and say, I want to schedule a makeup test. So if you're on campus and you don't feel like calling, you can also walk in to us and we'll get you all set up.
Thank you, Isabella. And as you can see, when you call in, you get to talk to friendly people again. So no hesitation to call in. Any questions, the Learning Center is a great place to get answers. Ms. Shively, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about the Learning Center, student accessibility services, anything in the academic services realm before we move on?
I would just want to say or add again that I encourage all of you to use the many resources that are available to you at Kent State Trumbull. I know if I were a college student today, I certainly would be submitting my writing to that online writing lab.
All right, I think we're having a connection issue. We're going to move on to hear from Tiffany. The exciting thing about Kent State Trumbull is that we help you from the beginning through the end. So when you graduate with your degree and it's time to look for that career that you have been prepping for, Tiffany Tyree is our career coordinator. So she is the one that will help you work on your resume. And before I steal her thunder, I'm going to give her the mic, but I just think what she does is great. So Tiffany, you want to tell us what you do to help students succeed?
Yes, thank you, Melissa. I think it's important for students to know that we're not just trying to get you to Kent State Trumbull. We want to make sure you're career ready and that you will be able to have success within your career. Okay. And so when you get here, you have full access to all of the career resources that Kent State Trumbull provides. Also, too, speaking of that, a small private feel of a college, career services will thrive with you, being able to see you from step 1 to step 10 of getting that job, of getting to grad school, and things of that. There are a lot of different services that we provide to you. One is having one-on-one meetings with me, and of course, these meetings are really an opportunity for me to get to know you and really help lay out what you need to do to get to that next step. Also, we have events. We also have tons of resources online available to you as well. So anything that you want to talk to career related, you can definitely come to me. And I want you to be satisfied. It's not just coming in and having a regular 30-minute conversation. If we need to talk a couple hours, we can do that. And that's the great thing about Kent State Trumbull, is that we can actually meet and build that relationship versus you just being a number.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Tiffany's office is in the Student Services Building. That's where you'll come for your financial aid advising, academic advising. It's also where the fitness center is and our first year experience course. And it has a big old title on the front of the building, Student Services. So if you ever have questions about resources, you can always stop in the Student Services Building and go right up to the main desk, and we'll be happy to help you. We just love hearing from our students. So I have a couple bonus questions I'm going to ask Alyssa and Isabella if they wouldn't mind answering, to give some advice and inspiration and reassurance to our incoming students. So first, I would love to ask you, Alyssa, since you're the closest one to freshman year, what can students expect for their first year of school at Kent State Trumbull?
All right, thank you. So, yeah, I definitely feel like I just started, and it also feels like it's been so long. But I want to say that it might seem frightening at first, because I know when I was just finishing off high school, because I went straight from high school to college, I was freaked out about it, to say the least. There's no other way to put it. But the crazy thing was, at Kent State Trumbull, I ended up meeting my best friend 15 minutes into kickoff, which is orientation. And so there's these different outlets that kind of introduce you into the school before you actually start, like classroom setting, where you might feel a little bit closed off and a little bit restricted, and you might be kind of concerned about actually being able to reach out to people. So there's kickoff, which I mentioned as orientation. You're all freshmen, you're all new, and so you have this kind of outlet of like, hey, you know, I can understand these people. And then there's also the app that we use for our specific campus, where you can reach out to people. You can either reach out to them personally, just post like, hey, this is me, this is maybe my social medias, this is what I like. You can post pictures of your animals or something, whatever you want, and other people can kind of relate to you. And you can also even ask questions. So if you're concerned about not knowing who to ask questions, maybe you don't know like which advisor to go to, whoever, you can go to that app and ask, and we have enough professors and advisors and students there that can actually lead you to the right place. So there's all these different outlets that can help you kind of get to your right path and will make you situated. And then on the other side, you do have the advisors and professors who are very willing to help you. And I know personally for me, even still, I'm about to be a junior and I'm still constantly asking help from everybody, and they're so willing to help, and it's just a really great kind of experience to have. And so it's just kind of an easy transition, I think, even if you kind of are concerned from the beginning.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. That's very, very relevant. And I'm guessing that if any of you who are watching this are looking at starting freshman year this fall or looking at transferring in this summer, there may be a little bit of apprehension with starting college or continuing college, especially given the current events. But please, please don't be worried. There's so much help available and you are going to do great. So reach out, reach out, reach out. Isabella, I would love to ask if you have any advice for new students, anything related to time management, resources, anything that you would speak to your freshman self.
I think the biggest thing that I would say to my freshman self is that it's okay to not know what you want to do right off the bat. And that is something that I still continually tell myself going into my senior year. But, you know, I had a few major changes and it was okay. And there were people there to help me along the way. Not knowing what you want to do is really scary, honestly. You know, it upset me many times, but after I started getting involved on campus and, you know, looking into student employment and getting so involved with so many amazing people that are on campus, I felt more comfortable because I hear so many other people's stories about how they started college, and they did indeed, change their major a few times in the beginning. And so it's okay to not know what you want to do. Don't freak out right away. That first semester and even that first year, just enjoy yourself and enjoy that you made it there. I think it's very rushed sometimes out of high school, and just appreciate the fact that you put all that work in high school, and that's why you're here. And um everything might not go your way, but you will figure it out, and there's so many people around you to help you. And there's a reason you're in college. There's a reason you're sitting right there. You're smart and you're responsible, and you'll figure it out. So that's my biggest advice for new freshmen. And getting involved will be something else I also say. Is I was very hesitant coming to Kent Trumbull because it was not one of my first choices. That's someone I always tell people that are coming in. I'm like, it wasn't my first choice, but I couldn't see my life without it now, because I always thought, like, how am I going to get involved? It's a small campus. This is something that I'm not going to like, and I was very honestly negative about it. But I ended up getting involved in so many different things, and a lot of research work, and there's a lot of different opportunities within just not only our campus, but you also hear about stuff from main campus and stuff like that. So student employment also is something I really tell people to look towards, because that is something that I'll never forget it. It's something that will be really hard to leave in the end, but it's very convenient to have those people around you that are also students and also employees. You can relate to them. And that's where I met some of my best friends. So that's my advice for new freshmen.
Thank you, Isabella. And yes, if you're wondering about student employment, we do offer many different student positions on campus. So depending on your interest, there's probably a job that fits, that would be your niche on campus. So we hire students in the library, the theater, the art gallery, the learning center, of course, the psychology resource center, the switchboard, so office work, our fitness center, our student services department, our esports lab, the bookstore. There are lots and lots of options. So if you want to work on campus, it's a great opportunity. That's what I did too. Speaking of not being sure of what major you want to do, Dr. Ritter, do you want to share anything to students that may be undecided or uncertain?
Absolutely. So the bottom line is what I tell everyone is do what you really know you have a passion for. Everyone has heard of Michael Jordan, obviously, as a basketball player, but not many people know that he was once a baseball player. And he played baseball because that's what his dad wanted him to do. Now, think about this. If Michael Jordan had never become a basketball player, you would have never heard of him. He would have just played baseball because he wasn't a very good baseball player. Instead, he went back into something he had a passion for and has become a world icon, known throughout the world. Kids in Yugoslavia, Japan, Russia, they all want to be like Mike at 10 years old. They would have never known that if he stayed in baseball, but he went into what he had a true passion for. That being said, you may not know what you want to go into until you take that first course. So let's say you don't know what you want to major in, that's fine. You go into general psychology your freshman year and you say, this is really interesting. I think I want to do this the rest of my life. We have a faculty member on campus who, she retired now, but her first semester in college, she went into general psychology, loved the instructor so much, she said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be a psychology instructor at Kent State Trumbull. And that's what she did, because she found that instructor that she connected with and a subject that she connected with. Prior to that, she didn't know what she wanted to do. So you really won't know until you test out different courses. But go into something that you know deep down you want to be passionate about. Another example is I had an instructor in the graduate program at Kent State who was an expert in higher ed law. He was known throughout the country in higher education law. He was a rock star when it came to higher ed law. That wasn't always the case. When he got out of high school, he did what everyone else around him did in high school. After high school, went and got a full-time job, in this case in a lumber yard. But he knew deep down, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I'm good at. So think of it this way. If he would have stayed at the lumber yard, no one would have ever heard of him. Now he is known throughout the country as an expert in higher ed law because he knew deep down, this is where my passion lies. So go after your passion. If you're worried about money and fame, that all comes with doing well in your job. And you do well in your job if you're passionate about it. So it is a full circle. But at the same time, know that you may not know what you want to do. And that's okay, because you're going to take classes that are going to help you to decide. And when you make that decision, talk to people, make an informed decision. Don't say, well, I want to be this because I see my neighbor doing this and he drives a nice car or she drives a nice car. Ask what that job is really like. Well, my neighbor sells pharmaceuticals, so I want to do that because they have a nice car. Ask them what they like about it. Ask them what they don't like about it. Find out, make an informed decision, but it all does get back to your true passion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ritter. And your academic advisors are available to help with that. Tiffany in Career Services is available to help with that. Talk with other students. And I talked to some of my professors too. I met with them one-on-one and asked how they got where they are and found inspiration there in pursuing my own path. So take advantage of the resources, and people on campus are great resources. So thank you for everything that each one of you shared. Thank you, Dr. Ritter, Professor Pate, Nicolette, Tiffany, Ms. Shively, Alyssa, Isabella. We so appreciate you guys sharing your insights, and perhaps you're a viewer and you're watching this a little later this afternoon, or you just jumped on. We are having another session at 6 p.m. this evening on Thursday, May 21st. So feel free to hop on to the same page at 6 o'clock. We're doing a session. It's specifically targeted towards parents, but it's going to be relevant for anyone who hops on. So if you have questions, we hope you join us tonight and post those questions in the comments. Of course, you can reach out to us by emailing us. There are links and email addresses in that outline. And finally, if you're interested in scheduling a virtual tour, we are doing 2 tours a week. These are one-on-one Zoom appointments with student employees. They will show you around campus using our 360 photo views. And this is a great way to get a little better glimpse of what Kent State Trumbull is like and whether or not it may be a good fit for you. I'm always happy to answer questions. Feel free to email me anytime. It's my email is in the outline, but it's mkuneli, Kuneli @kent.edu. Or you can always call us at 330-675-8860. And thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great one.